started. Welcome everyone. It's great to see such a wonderful crowd here. I'm your co-host, Wendy Papazan. I run the Papazan Properties Group with Keller Williams. And I'm here with my amazing co-host, Jordan. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jordan Moorhead. I run the Moorhead team here at Keller Williams Realty. And then also we'll talk about the Austin real estate investors meetup group. And we meet twice a month.
Oh, I'm going to turn this music off. Thank you. Perfect. Well, I'm so glad you're here. There's tons of amazing food, so feel free to nibble all night long. And I really wanted to, so I've been in real estate for 16 years. I actually got started as a real estate investor. I've been investing in the Austin area since I bought my first house in 2001. I was telling someone earlier, I was so lucky. I thought investing in Zilker and Barton Hills in the early 2000s would be a lucrative game plan, and guess what? It worked out. So I've been investing for over, I guess, 20 years now, 25 years, and it's been amazing to watch Austin grow. And I recently just turned one of my single-family investments. We tore the old house down, and it needed foundation work, and so we're actually building 3 units. So we turned 1,000, basically 1,100 square feet into a duplex that's 1,600 on each side, and then a back unit that's almost 2,000 square feet. And we're gonna go from getting about $2,200 in rent on that property to, I hope, over $18,000 a month. Yeah. I have to pay for the buildings, of course, in between. But I personally feel like with some of the coding changes, it's a lucrative opportunity. I've seen deals in Austin for 20 plus years. There will continue to be amazing deals in Austin. So I basically reached out to Jordan, reached out to these guys because I'm curious about learning more about this opportunity. So, and then we just invited all of you to come so that we can all share and learn and grow together.
And I think it's worth mentioning, we have a special guest from the city. Alyssa was so nice to come and join us because I think there's so many misconceptions. I don't know so much about it. I just learned in 3 or 4 minutes talking to her more than I think I'd ever know. So
yeah, she's for sure going to be our rock star this
wealth of
evening.
knowledge.
Yeah. So I would love for our panelists just to introduce themselves, but before they do, we do have a couple of sponsors that I wanted to thank. I mean, was that food like the best food you guys have ever had at like a free event in your life? Yeah. So we have the amazing Diane. Come on up, Diane. Diane is from Super Inspector. So we've been working with Super Inspector for, I don't know, over 10 years, I guess. Yeah, since you guys moved into Austin. And why don't you come up and just say a few words?
Well, hello,
and tell us where we got this amazing food.
Oh, yes. Oh, his cards are out on the table, but his name's Dana, and he has fabulous food. He's a great caterer. But glad to be here with everybody. If you're an investor and dealing with properties or you're a realtor maybe and have clients here, you know, Super Inspector, we do everything inspections from the luxury, residential, commercial, farm and ranch. We've got the manpower, the know-how, and many years of experience to make for sure whatever you're getting into is what you want to get into. But anyway,
okay,
I know
let's give her
I told you I'd keep
you
it short and sweet.
Our other sponsor here, we've got Allstate Insurance, and we've got a couple folks from Allstate. Come on over.
Hey, my name is Jessica Freitag. I'm with Allstate. This is Joey. We're sales producers. A lot of y'all may know Paul Guerrero. He does a lot of the tours here in South Austin, Central, Lakeway, Dripping. But we're the people talking to y'all's clients, so we thought we'd come out and say hello. So I'm Jessica Freitag, and this is Joey Adams.
Hello.
We brought the drinks. We want to thank you guys for allowing
I
us
also
to be
brought
here.
the candy, to be fair.
Do y'all, are we on the panel today? Do you want us to sit here?
Unless you want to be on the panel. You want to be on the panel?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. We wanted to just kind of go through and kind of knock out a little bit of the insurance stuff as far as investing goes. investment properties to insure are very tricky, particularly, I know we have some mod units coming out to talk about that. When you do things like that, you are more into a specialty type of item ahead, which then goes into a lot of broker carriers, okay? So we do Allstate, but we do have a few broker carriers that are admitted and non-admitted. They're very particular about how much they will insure for. They're very particular about zip codes that they will insure for. I'll let him add in about the units. I know you're talking about adding units to one property location, and I'll let Joey add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I always try to tell the investors that long-term occupied is definitely going to be your best from the insurance aspect. Airbnb is definitely available. It's just getting a little bit more harder and harder to find products for. A lot of the companies have tightened up their underwriting guidelines and restrictions, and so it puts us in a little bit tougher spots, especially with prior losses, LLCs, needing to add property managers that are just land insured. All those types of things play a factor on where we can actually take the policy to. But we work with over 15 different companies. So, I mean, we definitely have a carrier for you. It's definitely just going to be specific, though, to how you're looking to use the units or units. Doesn't matter if they're on, you have 4 units on one lot or 4 different lots with 4 different units. So.
Well, thank you, guys.
No,
Yeah. Insurance is one of those extremely boring things that's extremely important when you're an investor, and having good relationships with insurance people is super important. So Paul's actually my inspector. Paul's actually my insurance agent, and we use super inspector all the time. And then you want to talk about Keller Home Loans or?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I am a mortgage loan officer on top of being a realtor here in Austin. My job with my team on Keller Home Loans is just like the initial point of contact, taking the application, making sure you know all the options available to you. I work with a team of really experienced lenders. We can do DSCR, small commercial, conventional VA, FHA, all that normal stuff. And then we do have a bunch of great programs for down payment assistance, closing cost credits, rate buy downs, all sorts of stuff. So Keller Home Loans is a sister company to Keller Williams, and they've got a bunch of awesome programs here too. So again, if you need help with loans, come talk to me after.
I love it. And then Papazian Home Services is our other sponsor. So in 2019, I did a down to the studs remodel on my own home, and I got into business with a crooked builder who ended up cheating me out of thousands of dollars, caused my credit to plummet, made me really mad. Some other stuff happened in my life too as a result of that stress, and so I decided to start our own handyman and remodeling company. So Papazian Home Services has been around since 2021, and we can help you with all of your remodeling and handyman needs. So, and I know there's some other amazing remodeling guys, and hopefully you guys will stick around afterwards. So I know you're all kind of sitting here eating, but we'll do a presentation for about 45 minutes. There'll be time for Q&A, and then we'll have some time to kind of like mix and mingle afterwards. And I would encourage you guys to get up, introduce each other. It's so important, who you surround yourself is literally everything, and especially when it comes to investing, you need a really good team around you. So, okay.
Your network is your net worth.
Your net worth is your net worth. That is for sure. Okay. So we're going to have our panelists introduce themselves, and so we'll start with you, Miss Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Mayfield. I'm a residential zoning reviewer with Expedited Plan Review. I have worked there full-time for 6.5 years, but I've been working on and off for the City of Austin since 2010 in residential review. I have a background in architecture. That's about it.
Awesome.
What's the next one?
My name's Darren Christensen. My wife Becca back here, and I own Mod Modular. We're an off-site builder in the Hill Country, primarily building affordable housing, workforce housing, hospitality lodging, that sort of thing in the 300 to 1,000 square foot range, and with the goal of making America affordable again with scale.
I love it. I like that.
Hi guys, Matt Jordan. I'm the founder of Weave Homes. We specialize in co-living and small infill development. I've been very focused on development on the east side in Austin. Just finished up a project on 10th Street, and then have a few more in the pipeline.
I love it. So we'll make this sort of informal. I have a bunch of questions for these guys, but if you guys have a burning question, you want to raise your hand, I'd love for you to raise your hand and just go ahead and ask it while we're in the moment. Does that sound good? Okay, great.
Take advantage of having an expert from the city here too.
Yeah, okay. So why do you, I'll start with you, Alyssa. Why is adding ADUs or modulars such a hot topic for Austin right now?
Obviously, the amount of people moving here, density, housing availability, affordability, and that's up for debate, in my opinion, because as someone who's born and raised here, works here, cannot afford a home whatsoever. Not that I think I would want to, unfortunately.
Wait, what?
I want to move somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
But I think those many things is availability, density, and just increasing the, housing supply is, I guess the hot topic.
Yeah.
I think there's some more options available that we didn't have before. There's not a whole lot changing if you're just adding one unit, but if we're doing multiples, then we can really maximize the units and the square footage of the place. That then leads to profitability with the possibility of having some cash flow ideally. Also getting rid of the McMansion rules where we can build 3 stories now really opens up a lot, and you're not limited to this sort of circus tent.
You want to tell us what those are, McMansion rules, in case anybody doesn't know?
So it used to be, and I may not know all the specifics here, but you had this invisible circus tent on the property where you couldn't build to the full height on the edges of the property. And now there's a lot less restriction that you could build to like 35 feet and do 3-story buildings on one lot, as long as you've got the area to do that. That opens up a lot for maximizing your square footage, which is what you need to do in a city center to make this viable, financially viable.
Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I think affordability is a really big one. I think that was kind of the primary goal behind the home ordinance that came out beginning of 2024 or 4, yeah. So that was a huge part. A lot of people can't afford it. I believe in 2023, the #1 reason why people were leaving Austin was because of affordability. I also think there's a lot of useless lot space, a lot of empty backyards that could be used to add density. And then ultimately, I think the ADUs help with homeowners and affordability. If you can build a house in your backyard and rent the front or rent the back out and offset your mortgage, I think that is a huge win.
Well, I know I live in Barton Hills, so those of you that know that neighborhood, the lots are huge. Typically they're 0.25 or above, and sometimes up to half an acre. And I have many neighbors that have lived in my neighborhood for, since the 70s, sometimes even the 60s, since some of the homes were built. And it's becoming completely unaffordable for them even to pay their taxes. And so I'm talking to several neighbors about exactly that, which is like, can I put an ADU, move into the ADU, and then basically live by putting another unit, living in the ADU, and then somebody else is living in their house. So I think that's very typical.
Keep homeowners who have been here for generations.
Right.
To be able to age in place,
Yes.
To have passive income, which a lot of them, yes, they have social security and maybe a little bit of retirement, but especially in Barton Hills
Those
and
taxes,
Sucker,
man.
yes,
Yeah,
that
those
really
taxes.
helps those
Yeah.
people.
Well, what's the first step someone should take if they're thinking about adding another unit to a property? Matt, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think there's so many things to think about to start. I think the first one is to understand what kind of lot you have, the zoning, the setbacks. Do you have any major trees on your lot? Trees are such a big part of it. I think you have to look at, this is a really important thing that a lot of people miss, is deed restrictions. And I will tell you, a lot of even lenders miss deed restrictions. So you might have a lot where in that neighborhood, it says that you can only have one house on that lot, and you can't build additional. And I know many people who have built additional, and then now that house becomes almost unsellable. I think whether you have a legal lot is an important thing to write down. If you don't have a legal lot, you need land status determination, so those are kind of keywords to maybe look up, but, yeah, I think the first step is to figure out what you can build and if you can build.
And how do you, like, if I was just starting out, like, how do I figure out, because that sounds like a very daunting list to
Yeah.
me. Like, how would you approach that?
Well, one of the really cool things, I do think the city gives a lot of good resources. So you can actually schedule a call with development services pretty easily. Like, if you go on the list, I'm sure there's multiple slots available tomorrow. And you can talk to someone. I actually personally, I think once a month, the city arborist does like a tree plan seminar. I went and sat on one of those to understand how trees can impact what you can build. So I do think the city does offer a lot of resources, and use ChatGPT to the extent you can.
Can you talk a little bit more about the trees, or what your knowledge of what trees you can and can't remove is? I think that's a huge part of it for a lot of people.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of trees, but it really all comes down to the diameter of the tree, and the setbacks to the diameter. So I believe the cutoff point is like 18 inches in diameter,
It's 19.
19 inches in diameter.
So 19 inches and above is when the tree needs to be protected. There are species too. Hackberries we don't really care about. Sorry, that's not right. No, we do care about, which I disagree with. Ones that you can demolish are like ash.
How old, Alyssa?
They're just sort of, you know,
They're, you know, it's true, they're trash trees.
they're prolific. Ash trees, they will allow you to remove without mitigation because of
They
the
will fall on your house.
ash borer beetle. The ash
Yeah.
borer beetle has come down from North America. What is it? Ligustrum.
Ligustrum, yeah, those are invasive.
What else? Chinaberry, which might be called something else. But the main ones you want to look for are oak, post oak, cedar, juniper, and juniper and cedar. You would think, no, we don't need those, but they're native and they are protected. A lot of times they don't get up to that size, but when you have multi-stem trees, they can meet that 19-inch size. And so, you know, you can do a little, again, ChatGPT. There's a great Google function where you can get a picture of a plant, be like, what tree is this, you know, to help you identify before you go into purchasing a property, because there are projects where like a tree has just, you know, that, but also like reduce the ability to build on that property.
Yeah, you really have to work around the trees. And the city will, and if you mess up a protected tree, it is not a good day.
No. It is really not.
What happens and what's the?
You know those Ents, you know, from like Lord of the Rings, those giant like tree Ents, they come after you.
No, you can get fined thousands of dollars and have to pay into like a tree replanting.
That's a tree fund.
Yes, and so it's not, I think one that I know for sure was like, and it was a large heritage tree, which is over 24 inches, it was like $50,000.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you have, yes,
So part of that too is when you ever have a tree over 19 inches, it's all about the critical root zone.
yes,
So you're moving out from the tree to the edges of the canopy.
yes.
So you can't really build in that root zone.
You can build in the half, yes, but you also still have to be cognizant of the canopy. You know, the structure of the tree, like especially with 3-story homes, some of those don't mix well with, you know, a tree that only has a 25-foot canopy. Yes?
What about ETJ? Like, I live just outside of the Austin city limits and we're in the ETJ, so does that still apply to there?
I don't care about the ETJ.
Okay.
That's county generally,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's Wild West, do whatever you want.
Sweet.
Unless it's a commercial property, which then that's
It's
past my realm
residential.
of knowledge.
Cool, thank you.
All right, so from your experience, what's a realistic timeline from, let's say, idea, you have the idea to do this, to move in for an additional unit. Darren, you want to tackle this one?
So that can vary wildly. In the world of modular, I mean, we could, right now we're producing a home in about 12 weeks. We'll get that down to 2 weeks as we ramp up to full capacity. So we could, essentially, we could deliver something before you could even have a slab built. If we're doing a custom one-off, which is generally the case when you're doing infill, there's not a whole lot of time difference. So it could still be 6 months to a year going through all of that design phases and permitting and everything. I would say to the previous question too, when you're getting into something, this is part of the planning stages and being realistic and very conservative with your expectations, and then just maybe adding 50% more time than you think it'll take.
That's what I was gonna say.
Add that to the budget as well,
Yeah.
and realize that some of these pieces come in with, Austin isn't a great cash flow market if you're having to build these things from scratch. So if you've got if there's a good funding source, like if it's your primary residence, that's great. Then you've got a lot more options, like with a HELOC or something, and cheaply financing these things. If you're really serious about your expectations of what you're gonna get out of this, if you're having to put 20% down on something, it's likely not going to be a great return on your investment. But if it's your primary residence, again, you have more leeway there. Timeline is gonna be pretty much up to permitting and to also design phase. A lot of people can get really into, oh, I wanna change this, I wanna change that, and every time you wanna make a change or customization, those things stack, and sometimes they are affected by what the city will allow or with regulations there. So those pieces can all add time. Like, what have you seen as you actually been in Austin?
Well, let's say, yeah, if you have a house that's say already designed, you first have to submit that and get a building permit. I would say that takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. You can expedite it, which maybe is 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you actually meet with us
Yeah.
in a Teams meeting and we discuss the issues and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, taps can really push that back if you're
Especially
not,
with the 3 units.
yeah, especially if you're not aware that Austin Water requires separate meters for separate dwelling units. And so that means hiring a taps engineer, submitting to Austin Water, having them approve. So I think that,
And so once you get your building permit, it's probably gonna take 9 months. It's probably a realistic expectation.
And that's ground up, right?
From the day you start the slab or getting the slab repaired,
Got it.
yeah, 9 months.
How many square feet is that for 9 months?
Well, the house I just built was 2,600 and that took 9 months. I mean, you could probably do it shorter,
It's smaller,
but
1,200 square feet?
1,200 square feet, I mean, it's the same trades, right?
process.
You gotta get the
It's the
same
same
process. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
little bit less work, you cut that a little bit, but I'd put in
It's
your
not gonna
mind
cut
9
it down
months.
by much, yeah. Yeah.
Well, my question was going to be, because, no offense to the city of Austin,
No,
the
that's
city of
fine.
Austin
No.
is very, very kind of frowned upon from permitting perspective. Is that any better for these new builds and these, like, where we're adding more buildings versus doing renovations? From permitting perspective, because everything I've just heard from everyone, usually these permits are held.
Yeah, I mean, the one I just did, I don't think was that bad, but I think it really kind of depends on who's your architect submitting the plans.
Absolutely.
Does your architect know what they're doing? Are they
Yes.
based in Austin? Are they
We have a
somewhere
good
else?
team. Yeah.
Well, and you're on top of stuff too, as you as a person, so you're not just letting them do everything and kind of fly by.
Yeah,
See the
but,
plans.
hey, if you have a good plan and it's correct and you submit to the city, I mean, it really is like a 3 to 6 week time frame to get that building permit. And then from there, you do have, throughout the whole process, you do have inspections. And inspections can trip you up, for sure. But the house I just built, we had, I would say, minimal setbacks from the city.
You've had more problems with lending, right, than you've had with the permits.
Yeah, there was some trouble, yeah, with lending, at the beginning, but not since we started the project.
Okay.
Question?
It's a timeline question, but kind of a different one. If you do condo docs on a property, is there, do you have to build within a certain timeline of doing those or no?
No, but I would recommend doing condo docs after. Because we had a property that did the historic preservation bonus, and it was has been condoed off for years, even though there's only been one house. And you have to have all owners say okay to doing the preservation bonus, and so there's been a conflict. So I'd recommend doing the condo regime after, only because, again, you don't want 3 different owners disagreeing on what's being built on their property, because they're limited. If somebody does one thing, they're limiting the other person. And it just becomes a civil lawsuit issue, which we don't touch.
So you can't determine any of those things ahead of time? Like, the reason I'm asking is I was thinking about doing condo docs and selling the existing home and keeping the back part for myself to develop, and I wondered, like, is there then, can I determine certain things ahead of time, or not?
Well, with a condo regime, it's just ownership. You're not actually subdividing the property legally. So, you can be working on that and building at the same time. Just as a courtesy, I would let your front house owner be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Because again, based on the civil documents between ownership and, what one person can do and the percentage that they own, it just becomes a little hairy.
I don't think you even need condo docs in your situation. You can
No.
just subdivide the lot.
Well, you don't
Unless
even-
you wanted to work together
Right.
in the future.
Are condo docs a little cheaper than subdivision?
Yeah, no, subdivision is the legal process and takes a long time. So, and then.
It takes about a
yes,
year.
You might be able to,
Do you want to do that because you want the capital to then build the back, or are you trying to own the back free and clear first? Or is there a reason to condo it and sell the front house first?
It's because I wanna use the capital from the front for other stuff, and I wanna keep the back
Got it,
for
got it.
myself to develop later.
Yeah, I've faced this challenge a few times. It really shouldn't be a problem to do that. And condoing is like $2,500 and takes 2 weeks.
In your case, you already have the property.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about the historic preservation bonus?
No, there's a gentleman who keeps raising his hand over here, and I want him to be
Okay.
able to ask this
Sure.
question.
Thank you guys for being here. I was at a TED conference yesterday, and someone was giving a presentation on the AI permit technology.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was wondering if the city, being the city and government and everything, is there gonna be any moving forward with using AI technology to move the permits faster than they
Yes,
currently doing?
yes.
And then what's the timeline on that? That's what I'm talking about.
And I am part of that. We are going to be using Archistar, which is an Australian company that uses AI as also people. And a coworker has been working with them for a while now to get all those things in, and it will be free for the homeowner. I think you get 2 per year for your lot, and it's a free report that, if you have design and things like that, it'll tell you your efficiencies and things like that. So we are gonna be using that, and Expedited Plan Review is gonna be the beta tester starting October 1st, I think.
Wow, that's
Nice,
it.
yay.
So a coworker,
How do you spell that? Orchestra?
ARCH. Oops.
And
Yes.
is there a reason why you're using the Australian company and not a US-based company? Just out of curiosity.
That's a great question. I don't know.
I don't think you were involved in that decision, were you?
No. I'm really low level, but I end up being the one implementing all these things, and then everybody's mad at me, and I'm just like, I'm just a small little person here, just enforcing the rules.
We appreciate you coming here. You're not
right.
getting paid to come here, by the way. Yeah.
I'm not.
Is it ARCE?
HISTAR. But yeah, so we're gonna be using that, and that will help, again, maybe give you some insight into some normal mistakes with zoning, you know, so you can also take that to a 20-minute walk and be like, I see this, is this what's going on? And they can be like, yeah. And so it can help you on the front, or everyday homeowner, look into that before actually like jumping in to the actual process of permitting and deciding to do a, you know, build a home.
Is it on both sides, both the homeowner and the government side, or just the homeowner side?
I don't know why we would look it up, but we will be receiving the report.
Right.
Yeah, so the homeowner will get the report and then they'll let us have a link to it and we can look at it and verify, you know, so we'll be using that report in conjunction with our review.
A question over here.
Oh, will that, the AI permitting be available for like multifamily and commercial property permitting?
Not yet. We're working on it. Again, we're still in beta. We're limited to like SF1, 2, and 3 units where there are no existing structures, but we're working there. We're working to get there. It just takes time, and there are, you know, live people helping shape the AI, you know, software to be able to get to that point. I don't know though. That's again more high level than me.
Well, Alyssa, while we're talking about it, do you want to give us like kind of the nitty gritty of like lot sizes, setback zonings, all that kind of stuff that's required?
So we'll just start with SF1, SF2, SF3 zone properties. Minimum lot size 5750.
Can you tell us what those are? If you don't mind, SF1.
Oh, okay. So SF1, I don't know that it really means anything now that you can do 3 units on it, but previously there's a minimum
I
lot
think it's
size.
single family, right?
Yes, so single
Okay.
family, I would hope, well, I say that, but again, that's from this perspective, but single family, and the one is determination of how large the lot can be. So usually those are like at least 15,000 square feet lots. And then they have lesser impervious cover, so what is it, 35% and 40%. And I may be misquoting that, because again, I don't,
That sounds
we
good.
usually get SF2 and SF3 properties, which have 45% impervious cover and 40% building cover. And then with SF2 and SF3, it goes down to like SF2 still being like a 10,000 square foot lot, and SF3 at least 5,750 square feet for minimum lot size, and it was down to use and, you know, density at that time. I don't know, again, they were all created
You're good, yeah.
before I was even in college, you know. So,
So if you don't mind, can you explain impervious coverage for everybody too?
okay. Impervious cover is anything that blocks the earth from receiving rain. So it could be, you know, a driveway, a sidewalk, the foundation of the house.
Would turf count as impervious coverage?
No. No, it doesn't, as long as you're not compacting the soil underneath, yes. Some people think gravel is not when it's a driveway, but it is. We count that as impervious cover because you are compacting it into a way that still reduces the amount of water that can penetrate into the ground. We do allow pervious materials for pedestrian use. So maybe you're limited on your pervious cover, but you wanna have some walkways or patios in the area. You can use pervious materials as long as you provide us the, you know, manufacturer breakdown. And then, you know, instead use that leftover impervious cover calculations towards your driveway. So that you can have like a solid driveway, because you cannot use pervious materials for your driveway.
Okay.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Did the FAR change with being able to add 3 units on a lot, or you have the same FAR? And can y'all talk a little bit about that and the whole, I've read through the ordinances and I did not catch that the subchapter F doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah,
So I'm confused about some of that stuff.
So for single family where you're only doing one house, it's still, subchapter F still applies.
Okay,
if
so
you're in-
that's just one structure.
Yes.
Okay.
Past that, subchapter F does not apply. And your limits are 55% for 2 units FAR and 65% for 3 units. And there are limits to the sizing of units, because we've had structures where you're maxing out one portion at 40% and then the rest is 15%. And so there is a size requirement for at least one of them to still be 40%, but you do get the max of 5.
And this is why you obviously need an architect who knows what they're doing, has experience working with the new city limitations, like otherwise you can spend an insane amount of time trying to figure all that out.
It's
so.
challenging because it's so new,
Yeah.
too, like, it's
Yeah.
a year and a half old.
Right, it's still new for us too.
Yeah, it's hard.
One area that has not accepted the increase in FAR is NCCDs. And I just had a conditional overlay that limited the number of units in a tract to 65 dwellings. And so this customer will, even though home came about and they have SF2 zoning, there's a conditional overlay that limits them from building a second unit.
Can you tell us what FAR is?
Florida area ratio. So you look at the size of your lot and a percentage, and a garage can count towards your FAR for a home. A carport, if it's open on 80% on 2 sides, won't for the home ordinance. Enclosed spaces with a ceiling height of 6 feet or more will count towards FAR.
So
Yes.
No, I was gonna ask Matt, like, what is an FAR?
Okay.
So I'm new to everything, so I guess if anybody's gonna ask any acronyms, would you guys mind breaking them down?
Oh, yes,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to do it, but feel free to be like, I don't know what that is.
It's alphabet too.
It really is.
That's Hyde Park and North Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Fairview.
North University.
Yes, from my personal experience, do not buy in those areas.
It's basically they have a neighborhood restriction.
Yeah, neighborhood combining conservation district.
Yeah.
What areas, can you say that again?
The ones you just said.
Hyde Park, North Hyde Park.
Yeah, North University.
North University, Fairview, which is over in Travis Heights, and then portions weirdly of 12th Street and maybe 11th Street. So if you ever see NCCD on the end of your zoning, just like, run, yes, that's my personal
Although there
opinion.
can be opportunities too, it depends on,
Yes,
Yeah.
it does depend.
yeah, depends on.
Is
All right.
there something about the FAR that has to do with like not changing like an older house?
Yeah, that's the historic preservation bonus. It's,
Another layer of fun.
yeah, that's why I said, like, with the, you can use it to have more FAR for your second unit.
But not an additional unit.
Yeah, you can.
You can have an additional unit.
Yeah, not more than 3.
Yeah.
Not more than 3. Not more than 3.
Problem with the 3 unit though is that you're typically taking advantage of the
Backyard.
setback. You
Yeah.
know, the setback, so you've got the historic home, it's already
Which is-
set back, you know,
Yeah,
so.
some of them are set back too far, some of
Yeah.
them have a setback that at that time was non-complying, but now it technically is, and so like, woohoo. Or you can still technically use front yard setback averaging for some of those, although I haven't seen many of.
We're getting super technical.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
super technical. All right, let's move towards modular, okay?
Mhm.
That's, Darren is our specialist here, and why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, what is modular, and how's it different from traditional building, and how are you using it in your business?
The modular is, we're built off-site, so we're built in a factory. And instead of having months of contractors go through the job site, you get your site prep done and your foundation in, and then we just marry the two, and it only takes a couple days to get everything plumbed moved in. And can take longer depending on the complexity. There's some bigger projects that we've seen in Austin where they're doing three-story units, and there's cranes involved, and there's multiple days that can make those things more complex. But generally what we're doing is we're making things as turnkey as possible. So we just land them and you connect the utilities and you're done. Where this really comes into play is scale. So if you're doing a neighborhood, or you're doing hospitality where you need multiple units, that can really save you in cost if we're doing production runs of things, and can really save on time where it comes into your holding costs, where we can be building the same time you're doing the site work.
Because what you said on the phone, like about 4 units is really the minimum for the cost savings.
Right, yeah, so if you're doing a one-off project and it's custom, there's not gonna be there's no savings, time, money, or otherwise, going modular. Because like I was saying earlier, generally when you're doing infill, you really need to be custom to that lot, because you'll have things like trees, or you have things like setbacks, and you really need to make sure that your building maximizes that space. So having something that's already pre-engineered, like we have our own plans, we've got set things, that doesn't really apply, and then you go back to those drawing boards. So there's no real advantage in adding individual lots. Now when you get to scraping a property and building all new units, there can be a definite advantage there. And if you're doing that scale, then holding costs are a real concern.
Yeah, let's say you're doing 18 units or something
Right.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, that really starts out of it. It's a matter of scale, and we could cut prices substantially and timelines substantially at scale. But we can't really compete and make it any better doing one-offs.
Okay, Matt, I know you've got several of these in process right now, a couple going. What surprised you the most once you started building?
I'd say like 2 things maybe for this audience. One, there's so much detail that goes into building a house, especially on the design side. And I'm not just talking about exterior, but interior. And I think it would be really smart to hire an interior designer to pick all of those decisions. And I'm telling you, one bathroom can be like 30, 40, 50 decisions. Like what's the Schluter, the niche, like do you want the niche to be 12 feet or 12 inches wide or 24 wide? Where to put the vanity, where to put the mirrors, I mean, there's so many decisions that can really, decision fatigue really starts to set in. So I think hiring an interior designer is such a smart idea. And then the other thing is I'd say the city, there will be setbacks, I think, with the city. I think that's just natural when you're building. You know, I think personally I had some experiences where you'd fail an inspection, the next day a different inspector would come out, you'd fix the thing that inspector fixed, but the new inspector found something different, and then you get failed again. Those things do happen, and it's a little bit frustrating, but the good thing is I think the city is generally pretty responsive that you can schedule an inspection the next day. Another thing I would maybe suggest is sometimes if you start to veer away from what you have in your plans, that's a risk. And the city can catch you for that, and they can stop your project. Like for example, midway through my project, I wanted to build a fireplace. That needed to be notated on the plan. You can't just add a fireplace, or if you wanted to add a window somewhere. And so you typically need to get your architect to change the plan, and you need to resubmit that and get approval. And that can take a month to do that. And that will be caught on an inspection. So sometimes it's best to wait to do that change until you have like a period of time where you don't have an inspection, because that can really slow the process down. So I'd say those are the 3 things that maybe could be surprising.
So Darren, what kinds of trends are you seeing in your modular these days?
The funny thing is, I am getting AI renderings all the time. And people say, well, can you do this? And they're like, well, this company's doing this. And then we're having the conversation all the time, well, those aren't real images. Those are all AI renderings. So we're having those conversations, but in general, people really love the Nordic style, the feed-through design. And everybody thinks that the loft is a novel idea, but nobody wants to live with a loft.
Right.
It's, like, nobody wants to climb up and down a ladder to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. So single living is good, unless you're doing like a multi-level floor plan. But in general, if you're doing something smaller, keeping it single level. And then people generally want everything that's in a full-size house in a smaller structure. So it's just finding the creative ways to marry all those things together. And a lot of times we're using a shared plumbing wall, so we've got the bathroom on one side and the kitchen on the other side, so we can shove as much in as possible, and we're not having dead space for random things. It's kind of across the board for finishes. We're getting Pinterest boards and that sort of thing that people will see things, and that seems to be a trend too when we move to smaller footprint housing, is people tend to splurge on the finishes, which can be really neat to have some opulence in a small space to make it feel really nice.
Yeah.
But it can also add challenges, like you're saying, if we just change a finish, sometimes that has a cascading effect of things. So if we can get those up front and figure out as much of that up front, that's great. And then I'd say big thing people like are large expanses of windows or the accordion style doors. So we're just starting to play with those and getting sources for them. Not that we really open up doors wide open in Texas very often, but people love the
We'd like a
idea
couple
of it.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people love
a
the
couple
idea.
days before the bugs and all of that, yeah.
What's the average size of a modular?
They can be anything. I mean, you can, we're working on like 300 square feet to 1,000 square feet, but there's entire hotels, apartment buildings made out of them. You can do full-size homes, anywhere 2,000, 6,000 square feet. It's really, the imagination is, you can take anywhere with it.
Can you guys talk cost? Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Like, okay, if you're building a unit, what does that usually cost? Either per square foot, or like if you have an example from some of the smaller modular ones, what would that cost a homeowner if they want to?
Maybe I'll add to that question, if I do pick a standard floor plan, if they do fit my.
Yeah, more like, don't go crazy, it's like, okay, you have.
No opulence.
Yeah.
You can be in the realm of 150 a square foot, but also take into account that price per square foot gets pretty skewed the smaller the total area. You don't have that delta between open space and your kitchen and bath, which are a lot more per square foot. But I would say you could get something built in the realm of $150 a square foot if you're not going crazy. And
Is that full cost with the foundation and everything, or just the modular thing on top?
our pricing is based off of just our modular structure.
Okay.
And we don't need full slab foundations or anything like that, so it's not a huge increase there. But we've seen 600 plus dollars a square foot. We've got one now that's less than 300 square feet, that's $250,000. I mean, it depends on really what you're putting into it. But then again, if we do a production run of something, if we're doing 8 of them, maybe we get it down to like $80 a square foot.
And Matt, on your side, since you're building fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a price point around like 1,500 square feet. So anything below 1,500 is a small project, and you're gonna just pay more because contractors are gonna charge you more to come out to that job than another job. And then I also have the disclaimer, if you're building something super luxury, you know, that's gonna be expensive. But I'd say in Austin right now, you're probably looking at $210, $220 a square foot to build an average house. And then that's before a GC will take a fee. And generally a GC is gonna charge you 20%. It's gonna be a cost plus deal. So you're gonna look at about $250 a square foot with the GC fees.
So talking about costs for this, like financing the builds, my issue is that I bought my home like when, I guess it's not an issue, I bought my home when rates were low, and so my rate is like low 3s, and most of the times, like, I talked to a lender about building in the backyard, they're talking about like refining out of that loan to build the house in the back.
Get a HELOC.
Yeah, I think HELOC would make more sense for you, depending on how much equity you have in the property.
Well, I don't live there, it's an investment, like it's a rental property, so.
You get HELOCs on rental properties.
Oh, really?
I would try to do do what Sky? I would try and do what Sky did, and I would try to condo the property. But before you condo the property, I would see if you could get the existing lender, if you were to condo it, to release the collateral of the backyard. That's a complicated process, we could talk about it. But if they can release the collateral of the backyard, and you can condo it, so it's a separate legal area, then you could own that backyard free and clear, and you can maintain the existing mortgage, and if you own the backyard free and clear, then you could get a separate loan on that. That's the structure, and I've tried to explore that many times.
Did it work?
It does work. It can be difficult to get a lender to release collateral, but you can try and persuade them. Or maybe you have to pay down the loan a little bit if you have enough, if the loan to value is high enough, like your loan is low and the value has gone up, and you have enough equity, then maybe they allow you to do it, but that would be the most creative structure to keep your current loan in place.
How do you start that conversation? Do you just call the customer service?
Yeah, I would call, it's difficult. I would call your loan servicer and say, I'm looking to have a collateral release. They'll send you a form, you fill out that form, and you kind of have to harass them because they don't really want to do that. There's no reason to. But that's the best way.
Okay, thank you. On modular, exterior building materials.
You can use anything you want.
Pardon?
You can use anything you want.
Give us some examples of different.
If we're doing, we really like to build things that are resilient. Our whole take is, if we're doing affordable housing, we don't want to be putting a product out there that's disposable, because then we're just kicking the can down the road. We use a lot of steel, like the same as standing seam metal roofs that we use. We can use that on the side. We also use a product called LP SmartSide, which is a 50-year warranty product. It's an engineered wood polyurethane product. Takes paint really well. There's tons of others. I mean, you could put anything up you want on there for aesthetics. Usually we'll take smaller pieces of the building or do a waterfall, like where a door or window is, to use a more exotic material to bring some character to it. But you can use hardy, you can use really whatever you want. There are risks of using something like hardy that when you transport, if it gets bumped against something or strapped, if there's a crane situation, they can crack it. So we usually use something that's got some resiliency to it, like those materials.
Question to Darren. I'm a small investor, so I wouldn't be able to buy 4 units plus from you. So I'm interested in your standard floor plans, their sizes, and if you can get down to $80 a square feet if I buy a standard floor plan.
On a single one, probably not. But if we're doing a production run, we can. We're doing, if you think about it, if we're making all of the cuts and processes for a single home, when we do 4 of them at the same time, they're all in the same area, and we're just making that repeat cut at the same time, or we're doing that same
Just
process.
find 3 buddies in here.
Or what if you had a large order and then you could have people tack onto the order?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What the standard floor.
Right, yeah, we could do that. It would just, we'd have to have like a catalog of people. And
I'm starting a list.
He's ready. Yeah, I mean, getting creative, I love it, getting creative on that.
600 square feet.
I love it, yeah, right there.
What's the price difference with modular at 1,000 square feet versus standard construction at 1,000 square feet?
Again, with a one-off build, there's not gonna be much difference. There's gonna be some elements which can speed the process up, but then there's other elements that are more complicated, like the delivery of the home. And if you're in Austin, then you're likely going to need a crane to get it in there. So then you're spending $4,000 to $6,000 on craning services. And then also with those complications like that, then you're usually everything involved with that set day or those set days is a rush. And anytime you're paying for something that's a rush, it's way more expensive. You just need those people there on that day. So it's a wash.
You're literally giving me anxiety.
Yeah. It's really cool to watch though, watch a crane lower a house down.
I've had customers who had to convert it to stick crane because the crane could not get into the area. So I have had a couple modular projects where because the crane could not fit however it needed to. They had to submit a revision to change the structure to a conventional stick frame.
So we got about 5 minutes left, and I want to just open it up to questions from anyone about anything, so.
No more questions.
I know, I'm gonna ask
I'm
if
sorry,
this
go
guy's had his hand up for a minute.
Do y'all deliver all over Texas or
Anywhere in the country.
anywhere in the?
It gets a little more complicated going between states, but yeah, we can absolutely do it.
Talking about Abilene? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the resale value. Say if I have one property has a modular and the other one has a standard build, which one would actually be,
It come down to the finish quality. When something's modular certified, it's legally indistinguishable from a site-built building. There's no disclosures required. So they appraise the same, they hold value the same, you get loans on them, not exactly the same, but similar enough.
Yeah, there's really no diff, you just comp it the same as a single family, I mean, similar type property. You don't know when it's on. I mean, I can give you a few modular addresses and you can drive by them in town, you have no idea. It's
That'll be a
modular.
fun scavenger hunt. We'll give
Yeah.
you 10, you have to guess the four, yeah.
So the difference between a modular and like, let's say, a tiny home that's kind of like a mobile home type style, like, can that become a permanent, affixed property in the city of Austin, or?
There's a difference between permanently affixed and legally the same as something that's site-built. So yes, and I'm sure the city would prefer you to have it permanently fixed or require you to, and that it's taxed as real property,
Right.
but it doesn't appraise as real property, it doesn't have the same valuation or appraisals.
I guess my question is, can you, I know you can do modular, can you move like one of those that are a mobile home style and it become?
Yeah, so manufactured home.
Are you talking about the mods that come on a chassis, or are you talking about something that's actually a mobile home?
I don't know, I've seen the ones that are like, it's a tiny home that's got a tongue and can be moved to a site,
Yeah.
and then the tongue removed, and then the tires removed.
So that's something different entirely.
Okay.
It gets confusing because they all have very similar names, or that people use the names interchangeably. So that would be like a tiny house on wheels, and that's actually DOT code. That's like an RV. So that's regulated by over the road stuff. And no, they are not the same in any capacity to something that's site built. You can still permanently attach them to the property, and they can be taxed as real property, but
I would say from a quality perspective though, like your modular housing is gonna be way above. The tiny home you probably don't want to own long-term. I know there's some manufactured housing, tiny homes, that kind of stuff. You kind of want it to be undistinguishable from a stick-built home, because the quality's probably gonna be a lot better, and I think it's.
If an appraisal's coming into play, it's anything for an investment.
Yeah.
You don't want anything that's going to stand out as different, because then that's questions, it's hard to get something to
Lending.
compare it to, lending comes, there's a lot of insurance, all the factors come into play when it's not conforming.
In the long-term ownership of like a tiny home and keeping up with it and finding parts and pieces for it are just the best. I mean, it's the same for mobile homes. There's special mobile home dealers and repair people that there's like a one compared to there's 100. Papa's on Home Services, they can show up and help you, you know.
Yeah.
You've got Ron, if Ron doesn't show up, you're in trouble.
How is the city viewing those? Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
so tiny homes are allowed, but again, they have to be removed off their chassis and put on a permanent foundation.
So you're taking off the axles and you're putting it on blocks, and then it's strapped to the ground.
And then you're connecting plumbing, electrical, everything. And so you can do it, but again, like from a standpoint of quality, my mom just bought a little RV. She could technically take the wheels off and set it down and look, there we go. But the quality, I think, is not there. With some manufactured homes, they are on a higher quality, closer to mod, but still not, again, when you have a company that like focuses specifically on that and the finishes and are cognizant of that, compared to a huge corporation that has less control or oversight. I think like You can do it, yes.
I think what's helpful for me in my mind as I was learning to understand the difference between the two is understanding the building codes.
Yes.
And so your manufactured, also called mobile homes, I think tiny homes probably fits in that category. They are built to HUD code building standards.
Yes.
I don't know what all those are, but it's HUD code. When you're talking about modular certification, site-built homes, those are built to the International Building Code. So you're talking about two different build codes, which come down to the quality which you're talking about.
Yes.
But in my mind, it just became clear when I understood, oh, these are built to this